Hey everyone, how's it going? Hey, before we get into the episode today, I want to remind everyone that we are doing a cool thing at workingagainstgravity.com where if you use the code InsideWAG at checkout for one-on-one nutrition coaching, you get $50 off of your first month of one-on-one nutrition coaching with one of our coaches. It's a really sweet deal. And if you've been on the fence about maybe getting a nutrition coach and taking your nutrition more seriously, this is a great opportunity for you to jump in and see what it's all about and what we have to offer. So once again, it's Inside WAG, capital letters, one word, at checkout for $50 off of your first month of one-on-one nutrition coaching. Welcome to the Inside WAG Nutrition Podcast. I'm Josh.
And I'm Chris, and on today's episode, we're going to be discussing how to navigate your nutrition while traveling or going on vacation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Josh, what's a trip that you've been on recently where you had to navigate your nutrition on the go?
I kind of thought you were going to ask this question. I was going to ask if a future trip, like a very near future trip, counts because we're planning for a little spring break vacation here very soon. But with that being said,
that's actually perfect. I think that'd be great to talk about how you're going to pre-plan for this trip.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the thing is that our planning process never really changes. It's something that we've been doing for a long time. There's a couple different things that we do. A big one is get snacks, buy your own snacks, because airport food is generally just junk. Well, it's not junk, but I mean, there's not great options, and you can't, just like going out to a restaurant and hanging out with your friends, you can't rely on other people to give you the best options to hit your macros or stay on track. Depending on your goals and depending on where you're at in your nutrition journey, you can't depend on other people to help you accomplish that all the time. And that's something that we'll get back to that here in just a little bit, because that's one of the key things that I think is important for people to understand before you go on a trip is, where are you at in your journey? What are your goals and how do you want to approach those? So we'll talk about those in a minute. But the first thing we do is we buy our own snacks. Like, we go to the store, we get like little packages of like beef jerky. I'm a big fan of dried fruit, and right there we have like a solid source of protein and we have a solid source of carbs. Not a big fan of nuts, just because
Me neither.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
they don't. There's a taste thing that I don't really care for it, but also, like, from a macronutrient standpoint, the two macronutrients that are going to go out the window the quickest is going to be carbs and fat, and that's all nuts are.
It's a lot of calories for a small amount of food.
That's right, a lot of calories for a small amount of food. Now, I know that you could argue that having dried fruit and things like that that are all carb, like, those can add up too. Those can suck up your carbs like really quickly. However, they're not as damaging. Not damaging, that's probably the wrong word, but they're not as like, if you have a carb and a fat that are just like going down the drain, it's like simultaneously, that really puts you in a tough spot, because you kind of leave yourself with very little room to move. So
there's single macro or single source ingredients. So the only thing you're affecting by eating dried fruit is your carbs. There's no fat that comes with that. There's zero protein.
Yep.
So you're just in the lane of carbs.
Yep, exactly.
And that's a reassuring thing.
Yeah, and I like to do that with most of my meals anyways. There's like a protein, there's a vegetable, there's a carb, and then like whatever fat, like it's going to be some butter or something else that's, kind of roped in. But
Sounds like you prefer not to complicate your nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I try really hard. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but I try really hard. So that's the approach that we take with snacks. And generally, like, unless you have like a crazy long layover or like a really, really long car ride where you have to stop and eat something, you can pretty much get by with like some protein snacks, whether that's, again, jerky, even a protein bar. It's one of the few situations where I will actually resort to a protein bar, is like when I'm on the go and on the move and there's not a lot of great options. And then also for carbs, fruit, either dried fruit or actually like a banana or an apple or something like that. We always try to start with that. And then beyond that, we look at what might be available either in the airport, because you go on any airport website and you can find out exactly like what they have to choose from.
Yep.
Or if you're driving, maybe pick out some stops along the way, and kind of figure that out from there. But it all starts, I mean, at least a week before the trip. That's how we like to do it anyways. Yeah, it's all about planning. It's all about looking ahead. And that's kind of how we started. But yeah, what about you?
So yeah, recent trips I've been on, I don't have anything planned probably until later this summer, but most recently in January, I was in Costa Rica for like a week. And then back in October, I was in Iceland for a week.
That's right.
And, yeah, both opposite places, but both amazing, adventures and places. And I highly recommend both, to everyone. But yeah, where I'm at in my nutrition, I didn't have any particular goals at the time. I'm in a place where like I'm maintaining / kind of gaining. I'm just in this, like, I'm just kind of on autopilot mode right now because I've been doing this for so long. So
yeah,
I didn't have the largest concern of like figuring out what I'm going to be doing while eating in a camper van, driving around Iceland for days, I mean, just picked up some necessities, the common stuff like fruits, veggies, some of the fresher stuff, popped in some protein sources because we could cook a little bit in the van. We had like a little single top stove type thing to cook on. And so, things that where we could just add water to, like pasta, prepackaged pasta dishes and stuff like that, where you literally just add water to, and then we could cook a protein on the side and just toss it together. So on both those trips, I was really just kind of doing what I do at home, and taking what I do naturally at home with me on the road, which is so ingrained in me now after doing this for so long. It's just a no brainer. I don't even have to think twice about it. I just do. I just execute. And so, yeah, that was easy to navigate. And I wasn't so much worried about like hitting macros or targets. Cause again, that's where I wasn't there at my journey, and it wasn't the goal of this trip. So I had defined what that success was going to be ahead of time, really. And I wasn't worried about it because I'm like, I don't really care right now. I'm in Iceland. I'm here for that experience,
right.
Not so much that. But also wanting to be open to the culinary experience that I may not have access to otherwise, not being in Iceland. So yeah, but some typical things, that I'd like to consider, like if I go somewhere familiar, like every time I go home to Maine to visit family once a year and spend a week vacation with my family or longer, like, I'll hit the grocery store when I get there and I just pick up the normal stuff I normally eat. And I generally try to cover my bases for breakfast, lunch, keep things pretty standard, so that helps me satisfy a baseline of calories through the week that I can rely on dependently. And then it just leaves me flexible and open to fill the gaps with like a protein bar, which I don't really care for unless I'm traveling. It's not even a part of my repertoire. I think whey protein's disgusting, but I do it because it's a means to an end. It gets the job done and it's easy. It couldn't be any more convenient. So yeah, of course I rely on these things because I don't want to be thinking about that stuff. It's just, I want to be present. I want to be with my family. I want to be open to these things. And I don't want to stress about what I don't know that I'm getting into, because I have a certain trust with myself, as we talked about in previous episodes. Like you and I have that integrity we keep with ourselves, where we can just make the split second decision to say, this is important, this is not important, and I am radically accepting that fact because this is one meal out of the 1,000 I'm going to eat this year.
Right.
And we move on,
Yeah.
But not everyone's there, but that's an earned thing. And so, hopefully we help people get there, so that's kind of my approach with nutrition. I just, sometimes it might call for more planning if I'm more in the zone to get the job done, if I have specific goals at that time. But if I'm kind of in a loose place in my life for maintaining, then this is the real life practice that I need to continue practicing what's worked so well for me for so long. So
totally. Yeah. I love that, man. That's something that when people are tracking, and even us as coaches, when we start tracking ourselves, that's like, sometimes it's hard to see that, like, the long game. Like the ultimate goal is to use all of the information and the knowledge that you gain from tracking so much, then apply that into like the real world, where you don't really necessarily want to worry about every single gram of food, or like you said, depending on where you're at, if you're in maintenance mode, or even if you're like doing like a mass phase or something where you can be a little bit more loose and it's okay. Like you're still going to use those things that you learned from tracking to like make the best. You're still going to try to make the best choices, or ideally that's what you want. You never want to stray too far from what you were doing. And that can be hard for some people, depending on like where they're at and what they're doing. But one of the things that I kind of wanted to touch on, you touched on it a little bit, but is that journey. and deciding ahead of time how accurately or how you want to go about your nutrition when you're traveling. So,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I talk about a lot with the people that I work with is this idea of best, better, and good. There's three different
Mm.
tiers that I like to talk about, and I even apply this to myself: best, better, good. So, like the best, the best possible way for you to deal with your nutrition or navigate your nutrition is going to vary wildly depending on who you are. For
Mm-hmm.
example, right now I'm working with a couple of like pretty high end or you know getting near top tier athletes, and they have
Nice.
meets coming up, and it's spring break, and it's like, guess what? We're going to have to do the very best that we can to keep everything on track because we have a deadline coming, and it's your sport. Yeah, it's what we got to do. It's what we got to do. So
There might be some sacrifices involved.
there might be some sacrifices involved. Exactly.
Yes.
So that's for those particular athletes, like the best possible version of tracking is going to be continuing to make your own food, measure it, make sure your water intake is high. Like you got to be pretty dialed in. I would also say that if you have a deadline, not even sport related, but if you have a deadline for like a big party, a wedding, or something else that like you are really, really going for, you really want this result, like you're going to have to do the very best that you can
Mm-hmm.
with tracking on these certain vacations. Now that could be a small portion of people that maybe someone works with, or depending on where you're at. But the next tier down, I would say, is where I like to focus my own efforts on, and where I like to encourage other people to focus their efforts on, and that would be like the quote unquote better
Mm.
um, area, I guess. Uh, and what I like to do with this is I tell people to watch their calorie intake, make smart choices, watch their calorie intake, and then keep track of protein. Like always, make sure that you're going for protein at every single meal. Make sure that you're purposefully like seeking that out every day, because
Mm.
I think we both know, and a lot of people that listen to this know, that out of all the macronutrients, protein is the hardest to achieve and find.
Yeah, it will
Especially,
not happen by accident.
it won't. Yeah, exactly. It won't happen in an accident. Carbs
Mm.
and fats. It's almost like you walk down the street and you get carbs and fats. Like you
Yeah.
don't even do anything. They just seem to like. It's so easy. So protein,
Yeah.
being very specific and being very um, intentional about seeking out your protein is super important. So most of the time when I'm working with clients that are traveling or about to travel, I encourage them to be mindful of their calories and keep track of their protein. Make sure that that is like the absolute focus. Um,
Mm.
then the last tier would just be good. And that's like you're just kind of like doing your thing. You're not really concerned about weight. You just kind of want to enjoy the trip. And that would be just be mindful of your calories and make smart decisions with your food.
Mm.
Eat good quality food, but don't overthink it.
Yes.
And there's times in all of our lives where that is exactly what we need. And so,
Yeah.
again, each individual person is going to be on some spectrum of those levels, I
Yes.
tend to find. And it's up to us as coaches and the person as well to decide realistically where they are and then make a plan around that.
Yeah, like the individual, the client has to take some ownership of what they
Absolutely.
want to see happen on this vacation.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
are you trying to set out to achieve set a new bar to show yourself you can hit it? Is that the point
Right.
of this? This is what we talk about, like defining success before going on your vacation. Like, what's it going to mean to come back and say, I was successful on this
Right.
trip, right? Whatever
Right.
that is, maintaining your progress, continuing to lose body fat, harder to do on vacation, but not impossible.
That's right.
Right. So it just depends on the individual, their will, the execution, the planning that they have. And then there's some people where that's not the concern, because the concern is just to get through and be aware, be present, make decent choices, make trade-offs, and implement little strategies. Like, you talk about making a protein centric meal and including some fruits and veggies, whole foods, trying
Yeah.
to fill up on the good stuff, because that generally satisfies our appetite, provides more satiety, and it curbs the potential for going overboard on the calorie, carb, fat dense stuff that is easily to overdo on the next thing you know, you've consumed 1,000 calories maybe or something, right? And
Yeah,
we're
dude.
planning on it.
Yeah, it's
But
so easy.
yeah, but how you eat and the order in which you eat, I wanted to bring up, is important too. So like
Okay.
if you've got a plate, right, that's protein centric, you got a good piece of chicken breast or something like that, or steak, and then you've got some veggies, and then you've got like a baked potato or something like that. Or let's say it's French fries, right, or something. We generally go towards that easy to eat thing and start there first and load up on
Mhm.
that. And then that we start to kind of get full on that. And then we're like, we see the protein still hanging out on the plate. And it's like, oh, I still got to get to that. So my rule of thumb is eat the better stuff first.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Smash that protein. Number one, eat that thing first, right? Whatever's on your plate, eat it. The satisfaction starts to come. The physical volume of food starts to fill your stomach, right?
Mhm.
Starts to send that cue to the brain to go, I'm okay. I'm satisfied, right?
Yeah.
And then you eat the veggies or the pieces of fruit or whatever it is you have. And then maybe leave that carb dense, fat dense thing for last and actually see how much of it you actually want to eat. Because you may find, oh, my eyes were bigger than my stomach was
Yeah.
actually. So, so there's kind of like execution of order of eating things that you could also try to determine different or better outcomes too. Um,
That's
we
good.
also have those general practices of just some general concepts that you can apply to any meal, whether you're on vacation or at home, which is
Sure.
put the utensil down between bites.
Mhm.
Don't cram more food in your mouth if there's already food in there. Finish chewing it, right? Put the utensil down and actually be present. Be like, this food is pretty good. Or you're like, this food is actually not so good. Why am I eating this? Right? I mean, I've had
Yeah.
moments where I'm like, I don't even like what? Ew, And so be aware, be present, taste the textures, taste the feelings, the mouth feel as it's going down. Take a sip or two of water in between, watch that bite down and be like, I'm ready for the next one, right? So we can easily just shovel calories down and then just be like, oh, I'm full. I'm still hungry. I want a snack or something. And you eat a snack, and then you're like, now you've overdone it. But if you
Yep.
take your time, right, you actually are giving your brain a chance to catch up with your stomach, and who knows what's possible. If you just give yourself an opening, give
Yeah.
yourself an opening to see the difference it can make, and then you may not be stressed out about that untracked meal or the fact that you're going to go indulge something else later in the day.
Mhm.
So
I like
yeah.
that a lot.
Mm.
Smart. Yeah, like the order in which you eat. That's
Yeah, I've been
that's
thinking
good.
a lot about that more, and I was like, I've never actually said that out loud. I don't think it's just something I do, but then I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably helpful.
Yeah, it's
But
totally. Totally.
yeah, but I think about that at each meal too, and I just
Yeah.
mhm.
That's great. That's great. The now we do have like a I think we're gonna link it in the notes, right? We have
Yeah,
a travel PDF that people could download for free and they can kind of get some more insights and ideas.
absolutely. So I'll put it in the show notes. It's called our Ultimate Travel Nutrition Guide.
Yeah.
You can pop in your email address and download this free PDF. It's got a wealth of information, tips, tricks,
Mhm.
strategies. Macro friendly food restaurant guides, fast food, fast casual places, with some
Yeah.
macro alignment. We try to provide all the tools to help you align your focus on what is important and what your options are when you travel.
Yeah.
And so we'll link that in the show notes. And what we did this morning was get some feedback from our coaches of like just some of their favorite travel tips that they like to provide people. So we're going to, kind of go through that next and discuss those a little bit more, and we'll extrapolate on these ideas and strategies too.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I'll say right away, I remember we were talking this morning and Sean,
Mhm.
one of our newer WAG coaches actually, he was like big on water. He was like, drink the water.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
that is something that is super, super important. And especially when you fly, like flying, like you ever like when you're descending, you have a water bottle and you look
Hmm.
at that thing like just like crinkling up and like
Hmm.
decompressing, like that's all happening like inside of us too.
Yes.
So we're getting like we're having to deal with the pressure of flying, but it can actually like the whole process of flying can actually dehydrate you quite a bit. And I know that there's
It's
some.
also why we feel bloated. The same reason you'd bring a bag of chips on an airplane, and that air pressure and it will
That's right.
flow up.
That's
Like
right.
this is something everyone can YouTube. Just uh, bag of chips on a plane. Google
Yeah.
it, you'll see. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's what happens to
Totally.
our stomach. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And so the water, keeping hydrated in water like throughout the trip, um, helps out a ton. And even if you're not flying, like just
Mm,
like staying hydrated in the car
yeah.
or while you're at your place, all super super important. So that was one of my favorite ones, and it's also one
Hmm.
of the most actionable. like everyone can drink a little more water.
Yeah.
Like that's not that tough. Like
I mean, Josh and I are doing it while we're podcasting. We're just chilling.
Right.
We're just sitting here, but we're making it a point. You know, I know Josh has got his big gallon jug there, but if you treat this like a commodity, no different than your keys, your cell phone, you know, your wallet when you leave the door, that's a win right there. You've always got water with you, you know, and all airports these days, or at least my experience, the majority of them have those water refill stations for the bottle.
That's right. Yeah.
You might have to go through TSA with your bottle empty, but on the other side of that, you can fill that bad boy up anytime you want.
Yeah, totally.
And that's a great appetite suppressant too. Like most people don't drink enough water and then wonder why they're ravenous throughout the day, or maybe aren't digesting food as well, or clearing their intestinal tract out better. Like water helps with all of those things. Like there's endless reasons to drink water, but it can sometimes be one of the biggest neglected things in someone's life outside of just food. Right.
Totally.
Yeah. Some other tips that we got, like Tara mentioned, like bringing food to the airport, you know, so that you're not reliant on the airport food.
There you go.
Or maybe getting a snack or a decent meal in you before you even leave yourself to be at the whims of the airport options, which we know aren't always the greatest, or you may not have the best access to the greatest option. Like your terminal could be over here and the restaurant you really want like way across the airport, and that's just not an option. You just got to live with that, right?
I've been in that situation before for sure.
Yeah. And something I like to do if I don't do that, because I generally don't take that advice, because I know there's probably a Chick-fil-A or a McDonald's or something. I can get something macro friendly from there because I just got my go-tos established where I don't even need to think about it.
Yeah. Hey, let's pause right there real quick. Can you tell people about your macro go-tos at those places? Because that could be like really helpful, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Just real, maybe you don't have to go through the whole thing if there's a lot, but I would like to hear that. And I think that could be a cool thing.
Okay. Yeah. Like McDonald's, for example, like, you know, you can get the McGriddle or the high fat, high carb thing with very low protein, or you can choose something sensible, like just the basic egg McMuffin. You can ask for there to be no butter on it if you want, because save you a little bit of fat macros if you want. You can double up on the egg patty to increase the protein content and the satisfaction of it. I don't think it's technically on the menu anymore, but they used to have an egg white delight, which was like an egg white patty, a slice of cheese, and then that. So it's just basically pure protein. The only fat was really coming from the cheese and the butter on the English muffin. Okay. Or you could double up, say, I want 2 egg white patties on the egg white delight, or, you know, so I also know that McDonald's may not be available at the airport because I know they've got the limited menu, but normal McDonald's, you can get a chicken breast on the side, like a smashed like chicken cutlet on the side for like $2 or something like that.
Right on.
Right. You know, and I just avoid the hash browns because it's just whatever. It's not that feeling. It's a small little thing for, you know, it's got a decent amount of fat in it because it's fried and stuff like that.
For sure.
You know, my coffees aren't complicated. Coffee with a little bit of half and half, maybe a Splenda or 2. I don't need any dressing up there. Chick-fil-A is even easier because Chick-fil-A is one of the highest protein fast food places you can find, period. Like, I think it's the place where you can get the most protein centric options.
Right. And they have like a whole menu that's just grilled, right? Or like a whole section of it. Like
grilled nuggets without the carbs, right? Yeah. Or the extra fat.
Yeah.
Super filling. 8 or 12 count. Or be a badass and get that 30 count. I think there's like 100 grams of protein in a 30 count, like whatever, you know? So, Chick-fil-A is my favorite. I mean, I made a post back in the day on WAG's Instagram, like my 5 Chick-fil-A go-tos or whatever. And it shows a variety of different options that I can get, but they satisfy different macronutrient needs. And also like endeavors. Like sometimes I want to go to Chick-fil-A and get that spicy chicken sandwich, and there's other times where that grilled sandwich is just as good, or I counteract the spicy chicken sandwich with the grilled nuggets instead of the regular nuggets, you know. So I'm actively making these trade-offs, so I don't see Chick-fil-A or McDonald's as, well, I'm choosing these less than optional places, or, you know, and so that means all bets are off and I might as well get the double quarter pounder with cheese. I might as well smash some fries, and you know,
it's all out the
I've already gone that way. Might as well get the strawberry shake too, man.
But
it's like, no, slow down. You don't need to do that. There's other options.
Yeah,
and I fit fast food into my world a couple of times a week.
Really?
And hit my knack. Oh yeah, man. I got a Chick-fil-A within 2 miles from my house. So it's like, and DoorDash is a thing. So, you know, it's incredibly convenient. So
that's awesome. We just got a Chick-fil-A here where I live.
Ooh, Traverse City, Michigan, moving on up.
Like last year, for real. And I've had people that like I'll looking at people's logs and during check-ins and coaching, they'll have Chick-fil-A, and I've made a comment a couple times like I wonder what that's like, and they respond back like, wait, you've never had Chick-fil-A. And I was like, no, because the closest one up until last year was like 250 miles away. So, and I still haven't been there yet, but now I should go. I should try it. Huh?
You should, man.
Try it.
Just a quick thing I noticed too, and we're not sponsored by Chick-fil-A by any means, guys, but open to it. But they also have a new cauliflower sandwich that's out, and they're testing in certain places too. So,
oh wow,
it's literally like a slice section of a cauliflower head that is like battered and done the way that their normal chicken patty would, with the, good crumbly bits on the outside and kind of seasoned in that way. And I think it's fried in the peanut oil still, just like the chicken is, and then slapped on a patty with the pickles and just that basic little thing. So it's like a way to scratch that itch for vegetarians, or people that maybe want like the lower calorie option per se. So,
wow.
Yeah. So Chick-fil-A's,
there you go.
Bringing some options. Yeah.
There you go. Had no clue. Mm-hmm. Chris educating the world on the Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. I'm open.
Unless everybody knows, and I'm just the last person to know, which is very possible.
Could be that too, but I mean, some people just stick with what they know. They don't even think to look at the other options on the menu. And the cool thing about the world we live in right now is most of these fast food restaurant places have their own apps, so you could just go in, look at their menu. They've got nutrition information, and you can even like reduce, like, oh, I don't want that butter, I don't want that mayo, and then it updates the nutrition information for you live in the app, and you can be like, oh, cool. And then so you can pop that into your food tracking app and say, I got this sandwich with these customizations made to it, and you create a custom entry that has that value in it instead of depending on the standard static entry for that restaurant in the food tracking app. But that's you taking the control and empowerment of catering your nutrition to your particular needs and wants, and being able to satisfy that need, and then moving on with your life, and then moving on to the next meal, So, yeah,
that's awesome. I think one of the other things that we wanted to touch on, a couple of coaches mentioned this when we were talking about it earlier today, but figuring out your accommodations and where you're staying. It's one thing to travel, like the in between, right? You have your home, you have the travel, and then you have the destination. So if you're going to a hotel, like, look ahead. Do you have access to like a refrigerator in your room? Is there a microwave in your room? Sometimes there is, other times if there's like a longer, if you're staying for a little bit longer, it might be worth asking about it if you can get one. Sometimes there's a small upcharge, but it can be worth it to get some small, like, I was going to say utilities, but that's not the word, like appliances in like your hotel room that might make the stay a little bit easier. VRBOs and Airbnbs are extremely popular now. So literally I've had people go on their vacation, and they get to their house or apartment, wherever they're going to stay, and they just go to the grocery store, and they kind of turn that place into their, they mimic their kitchen at home. They have the same stuff in the fridge. They have like a little bowl full of fruit. I mean, and I encourage that too. It's like, make it as similar to being at home as possible.
Yeah. Take what works with you at home on the road with you to the extent you can.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're on vacation, there's inevitably going to be a special lunch out, or a big family dinner, or if you're with friends, a big, 6 to 10 person outing. Like, that's probably going to happen, and you can use the tips that we talked about, or use your own special like skills to determine what you want to eat at those particular things. But during the day, like, if you can get up and have like a breakfast that is like healthy and very similar to what you do at home, maybe some snacks, maybe some lunch before you go out and start your day, whatever you may be doing, all that stuff is so much more in your control than you might think. And especially with these new options with like renting an entire house, it's like, there's no reason that we can't just go to the store, grab some fruit, grab some deli meat, just like odds and ends like that. They can really, really make the vacation a lot easier on you. And it's also cost effective too. Think about that, gang.
Think about it. You've already paid for the flights. You've already paid for the accommodations. Like, do you want to spend another $1,000 to $2,000 on eating out, and then the added stress. Maybe it's stressful, maybe it's not, of the uncertainty of what you're going to get into with those foods. Whereas you can limit that by maybe having 1 to 2 meals eaten out, and then 1 to 2 or 3 snacks or meals made under the control and the advisement of what you would normally do at home. So not that much is changing. So you're minimizing the margin of errors. You're minimizing what just happens to you as opposed to what you want to happen to you.
That's right.
Know?
Yeah.
One of the cool things that somebody else said too, another coach, was like, setting limits on things, or like abandoning your macros and tracking by picking 3 to 5 targets to shoot for, which could be something like setting a drink limit, getting in some sort of movement limit. And like Ali said, like get your movement in at the beginning of the day. So it's done, it's over with. You've checked that box. It's not interfering with plans that might be coming in later in the day, or the day getting ahead of you, and then you trying to find a place to squeeze that in, and then feeling guilty about not being able to do that or whatever. It's like, knock out what is important to you. Check the self-care box first thing in the day, as soon as you can, kind of thing. Limiting desserts, possibly making trade-offs with, like, if I'm gonna drink 1 to 2 drinks, it might be best to like share a dessert with somebody instead of have the entire dessert. Or maybe you choose dessert over alcohol, or alcohol over dessert. We know excessive alcohol can lead to excessive eating and just a lack of care when it comes to that. So those are also important things. Like, kind of find your North Star, as someone said, in terms of like keeping that focus on like, what's 3 things that you can actually actively keep juggling every day. Right.
That's right. Yeah. I like the movement one too. Like,
it's solid. Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be some crazy, insane CrossFit workout or a heavy deadlift day or something like that is like crazy out of, like, it could be like a walk, like go out and explore the city or the town that you're in, or take a long walk on the beach, right? Everyone, that's so romantic, right?
Yeah, go
long
grab a coffee, go for a walk on the beach. Like the walk to get the coffee, and then walking with the coffee. What a treat, what a reward that is, right? And that's something you can do, like, nobody's keeping you from walking around.
That's right. Yeah, embrace it. Like, if it's a little bit longer to walk to the coffee shop in the morning, or you want to go to lunch and it's maybe a little bit further than you're used to walking, like, embrace it. Like, like, use that to your advantage. Like, check out the city, check out the town at the same time. Like, you're getting your steps in, you're staying active. It's like, look at it like stuff that you get to do, not stuff that you have to do. Like,
absolutely,
you get
reframing it.
Reframing it. Yeah, you get to do this. You're in a cool spot. You're in a new house in a new town. Like, like, get out there, explore it, like, enjoy it.
And another thing, this concept can apply to even at the beginning and the end of your trip, when the flight that's sandwiched, the airport situation that's sandwiched between the vacation or on the other opposite sides of the vacation itself, is, if you've got the time at the airport, you get there early enough, you've got a layover or whatever, like if you're with a partner or somebody who can watch your stuff, or you can find a place to stash your stuff, go take a lap, go walk around the airport, see what's available to you, pull up Google Maps, look at the restaurants that are inside the airport and how far away you are. Like, for me, I look at that as an opportunity to get my steps in. I'm not just sitting around waiting, just staring at my phone screen, doing this, whatever. I'm being proactive and getting my steps in. I'm getting up to fill my water bottle. Those are all just things. And then, it keeps me aware of what my options are, and like, oh, look at that sandwich spot. Easy. I can easily manipulate a sandwich, you know, just some bread, some carbs. I can double up on the protein if I need to. I can say, please don't put that high fat mayo on there, or this or that, whatever. It's like, it's so customizable, but we often forget that you can often ask for what you want. You don't just have to receive the item as it comes off the menu. Most places are willing to cater to a host of nutritional needs or demands these days. And so you don't know unless you ask too. So, yeah, man.
So I
think we covered all of them, man.
Yeah. Hopefully,
there's probably so much more, but I think those are.
That's true. Hopefully we weren't talking too fast. Let us know. Sound off in the comments. Were we talking too fast in that episode? But I mean, gang, the traveling can really be as difficult as you want it to be. It can be as easy as you want it to be. It can be as difficult as you make it. If you plan ahead a little bit, that goes a long ways. And like Chris talked about earlier, we have a guide, and it's free. You can put your email in and you download the guide. got some great ideas in there. If there's something that, hopefully you listen to this and there was something that like, you're like, oh yeah, I should try that, or I should remember that. But if you prefer written, there's a lot of great tips in that, guide. So please check it out.
Yeah. And as we said at the top of the episode, if you've made it this far, you can use code InsideWAG at checkout on our join page on our website, workingagainstgravity.com. That will take off $50 off your first month of one-on-one nutrition coaching with me, with Josh, or any of our wonderful coaches on staff. And I will be sure to link that Ultimate Travel Nutrition Guide for you all in the show notes below, as well as some other helpful articles from WAG for traveling and being successful.
Yeah, gang. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and if you're watching it, thank you very much for watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Wave, yeah.
Hey,
like and subscribe and do all the things. Click all the buttons. We really, really appreciate it. So, yeah, we'll talk to y'all in a little while.